Erneut hat uns das Die Siedler Team aus Düsseldorf neues Material via Livestream zum neuesten Serienableger präsentiert. Im nun folgenden knapp 50-minütigen VOD richtet man sich erneut in erster Linie an Neueinsteiger und startet daher mit den Basics. Thematisch geht es um den gebotenen Content abseits der Kampagne für Singleplayer-Spieler, 𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏, und eben Siedlerspieler, die einfach nur vor sich hinsiedeln wollen. Der RTS Aspekt wird also dieses Mal komplett ausgeklammert. Außerdem bekommen wir mehr Details zum Thema Forschung und dürfen die voll ausgebaute Siedlung von Creative Director 𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏 bewundern.
So I would say, how about we just jump into the game?
Absolutely, absolutely. Please tell us. You play as the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏?
That is correct. Today we'll be presenting with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 faction. The 𝗏𝗏𝗏 are basically coastal people who live in close proximity to nature. That's why anything like the harbor becomes more accessible to them, and their defenses are also a little bit cheaper to make because they are more about protecting what they have claimed.
All right.
And the most important part, just as we mentioned, we are playing casual mode. And what this means is I will not be trying to beat an AI that is rushing me constantly. I'm not facing another player, which is what we did on the first stream, where stress was high, so I can take my time. It is not exactly the same as in campaign. Depending on the mission, campaign also will threaten you. But I won't be pressed on for a minute-to-minute action or responses. So we wanted to introduce a little bit of the basics of what it means to have a Settlers game. And everyone that has played throughout the series will know these things, but a lot of our new viewers may not know, so let's share some of this. The most important aspect in the Settlers, its logistic aspect, has a very clear determination. It's your goods do not exist in an abstract form. They exist in the world, and they have to be transported from one place to another in order for them to have any effect. That means when I order a new building, there's no progress bar that just goes from second 0 to second 21 until the building is done. The requirements, the material requirements of the building need to be delivered. Those need to be grabbed by our beautiful engineers here. Let me capture this right now. And then and only then will the building construction progress. So the distance in which you build this building compared to where your resources are is very relevant. Exactly. Yeah. Not only that, because this rule or this method of logistics transport to everything in the game, where you place your, for example, logging camp is very relevant considering where the trees will be located that these people have to go work with. And when I say people go work with, literally some of our carriers took up the new job of becoming woodcutters, and they're going out, as you see them right now, almost at the same time.
Picking up the axe and going to work.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, there is no progress bar in this building that tells me next log is in X amount of time. These people have to go out, chop the trees, knock them down, grab them, bring them back home, and only then do I get my resource.
And we really, as players, see it.
That is indeed correct. So let's see who wins the race. I think the top one may have started a millisecond earlier, but once it's chopped down, there we go, he won. Right. He will be then moving on to grabbing the log and bringing it back home. And once again, this is the foundation for almost every interaction of resources in the Settlers. This translates directly to the next building that we're going to build. And you know what? I want to build another one in the meantime. There we go. So I'm going to let the people do things. You guys should stop. And the next one in the chain of logs is the sawmill. The sawmill is the building that allows you to transform the logs that your logging camps are chopping into lumber. And the way they do it, just like with everything else, they need the logs transported to their building. They will grab the logs and literally work on them. So
we will see it in a second, I guess.
Yes, that is indeed correct. And only when that work is done will the resulting lumber be available. So if for whatever reason the building is interrupted or there is an attack and they have to run away, then the lumber doesn't get produced. There's no magical, again, progress bar that suddenly there's a new log showing up there.
So we see the big blade, and then we see also the carriers bringing some logs, right?
That is correct.
Very good.
Yeah. So they take it to the back, put it on this beautifully, very smartly engineered sawmill wheel. They give it a go.
You really already see the love being put into all the animations and stuff.
That's exactly it. It's the love for details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single interaction for every single building counts with something like this.
Yeah.
So now the lumber is available, another carrier grabs it, and they all, when there's no other destination that is shorter, smarter, faster, they'll bring it back to the warehouse. That's why we always connect all our buildings to the warehouse, because transactions happen in such a building.
I have a quick question at the beginning. How does food play into everything?
That's a beautiful question. And you know what? As we speak about food, I would like to build a fisherman's hut over here. And then we'll go through it right away. So, food boost, as we have touched upon in the past, is also an increase in production. For every item of food that you provide to the building, there will be a double result coming out of each cycle, each production cycle. It could also be a gathering cycle. So food really lets you squeeze more out of the materials that you have available. But just like everything else, and we're showing it right here, food needs to be transported too, right? So the food needs to be delivered. They're making this beautiful fish soup that is available to the workers. And as soon as food is available, they go like, yeah, well, okay, it's my turn to eat.
I will pick this up and I will, double my outcome.
And this is the beauty of it. So every interaction is represented. So once they are happy, they work more efficiently, they are able to obtain more resources out of their current cycle of work. Okay, so that was a cool introduction into what are the most basic rules of the settlers.
Yeah, so we are quite basic today, right? So
that is correct.
We show some basics of the game today.
Yes, so if you have any questions, of course, we are happy to answer. There is one more thing that I wanted to talk about today that we didn't get an opportunity the other days, and that is the stone road. Because as we start building up our settlement and demanding our carriers to be doing more things at the same time, right? So yes, transporting materials is maybe a one-time job, but once the sawmill keeps going, they keep needing more food, they keep needing more logs, they keep delivering new lumber. So your people statically or in a more general sense get taken over. Your opportunities are vast in this area too. The first one is, of course, you can just build more houses, obtain more settlers, have more carriers, you have a backup. But there's also the stone road. And stone roads provide a very, very great upgrade to your logistic capabilities. Just for existing, stone roads increase the speed upon which the transport happens. So there's already a base bonus. But if your starting location and your destination are both connected by stone roads, your carriers are able to use what we call the pull carts. Pull carts have literally triple capacity. Carriers have no problem pulling it out of their magical pockets, and then they bring over more resources at the same time. So this expedites transport times, by triple.
Yeah.
And it's not just that. There's this special connection between the food that you can deliver, which in its totality is up to 3 items of food. And then the production that gets created in such a building is also doubled, which increases the number of people that will be needed normally to transport. When you know that you have a facility or a building that you want to keep boosted as much as possible, as long as possible, stone road is a great consideration because delivering the food becomes a one carrier job, and obtaining the results that are doubled becomes a one carrier job. Otherwise, it will be 5 carriers, right? So already the considerations for your logistic infrastructure are extremely important, not just at the beginning of the game, but midterm and long term as well. Okay, so we got to show this. Yes.
Sorry, do you want to quickly talk about the upper left corner of the screen as we have some goals?
That is true. I started talking about the game and then we skipped this entirely. So why do we call this a different type of skirmish, an economic victory skirmish? It's because there is a victory condition that is shared for all the teams. In this case, my opponent in the south is probably trying the same. That is displayed up here. And it's solely focused on creating an economic power that will be declared the winner upon the first one who reaches it. So it is a race condition. In this particular map, there are 2 locations where the players could interact, but they are guarded by extremely strong bandits. So already the path to interaction military-wise between the 2 players becomes more complicated.
Yes.
And if we get an opportunity to show the other map that we will see in the future, you will see that there are also more ways to interact, which is cool in itself. So we have now started our economic race with our opponent. However, our opponent is also very chill. So this is not a moment where I need to worry about the minute-to-minute action. I'm deploying 3 more houses over there.
And we even have like 4 hours to complete all goals in time. Yeah.
And that's why we chose this specifically for casual for today, because on this particular map, you are able to take all the time that you want in order to create a settlement the way you want, the shape you want. You can clean the whole map of resources if that's what you're looking for. You can decorate as much as you can if the other way is that what you want. And more importantly, you get to practice things out. You don't need to rush, you don't need to hurry, you don't need to oppose yourself with something strong. You can take your time in Boneyard, and because it's a 1v1, you don't even need to fight.
And also this enables us to show the people some things in a relaxed manner
It's
today.
the first time I don't need to do an extreme amount of actions per minute, so I'm very happy about it.
So you can show a lot of things, even up close, right?
That is indeed correct. So let's talk a little bit about stones as well, because together with lumber, they are also part of the basic building materials that the players will always need in order to produce any building at all. Stones, in difference to wood, have two types of availability. An early access where stone deposits are found above ground. That's where quarries come in, and that's exactly what we built here. You can see them already going around and collecting stone. However, these deposits are limited. I need to zoom out a bit more. There we go. So in this particular bowl, there's only 17 charges remaining. We could explain it like this. Which is why using food for example, this quarry in particular becomes much more important.
To double the outcome.
Because the amount of materials I can squeeze out of the work in this area is much stronger. Now, there is a third element to construction materials right now, and this is one of the changes we have spoken about in our videos before, and that is tools. We can see here the procedure of tools. Tools have changed, as we spoke before, from iron-based tools to stone and lumber-based tools. So they become extremely earlier for access to everyone, but they're also more prominently used throughout the economy. And the first thing we want to show today about it is the academy. Now we will have to wait a little bit until it gets built, of course. We can maybe show both of the buildings as they build up. But every building that has a significance to take you into a stronger position mid-game or late game will have a cost of tools. In the case of the academy, in the case of the warehouse, if you want to have an expansion, in the case of the harbor that we also want to show today, all of these require tools. And in cases of buildings like this, I think the camera caught it, but I was looking at you. In cases like this, there is a third transport option that also helps us in the way of creating this beautiful, bigger buildings.
Still standing
exactly. And that is the donkey cart. So the donkey cart is also part of the production chain that requires a wheat farm, a ranch, and a coach maker in order to produce or upgrade one of the carriers into such a unit. And they have a carry capacity of 8 without research, 12 with the research. And what they do is they are specialized in bulk transport. So there are 3 situations in which they actually act. The first one is between 2 warehouses. So this is long distance. They connect the 2 by transporting bulk goods. The second one is between a warehouse and a harbor, which we're going to see soon. And the third one is between any warehouse and a building site that requires more than 6 elements to be built, right? Otherwise, your carriers can solve it. But if the number starts propping up, like for example
so basically every time a huge amount of resources is needed.
Exactly. So as you see, the academy required 6 lumber and 6 stone. That's why 2 donkey carts were able to just deliver that for us. And again, if you have those available, those replace 6 potential carriers that would be otherwise stuck transporting goods.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the donkey is happy after that, right?
That is indeed correct. They were correctly used. Let me see. I need to rotate the camera a little bit.
Oh, what is it with the...
I believe there is no fishing range for them. Yes, that is correct. Well, this is the cool thing. I'm not in a hurry, so there is a third fishing spot.
Closer to the fish.
Did I miss it by 1 hex? The magic of being on stream. Okay, in any particular case, they would have been providing fish, of course. And just like we said in the past, the fishers go out and must collect the fish from the fishing resource spots. Otherwise, they get nothing. So now that they have detected there are no fish nearby,
I don't see any fish. I don't know.
Okay, but soon enough, I think these 2 will transform immediately. Let's see if I get that right. We catch it on camera.
Yeah.
Their job transformation. No, come on. I think someone else took the job. Okay, you know what? We're gonna pause, we're gonna activate. There we go. So now they realize, oh my God, there was fish all along.
Oh, I was supposed to be fishing.
I'm coming. Okay, so we wanted to build this here, but there's something else I want to build as well. And that is the harbor. And as we leave the harbor in its construction mode.
Really cool looking building.
Yeah, it's also massive. Today, we want to approach more topics. And in this particular case, we're going to jump now into the intermediate part of it. We're going to talk a little bit about research in depth, and we're going to talk about the harbor as well and trading. So as the harbor builds, and as we mentioned before, if a building is large enough, the donkey carts will probably participate in its construction. Otherwise, these things will happen. But yeah, you see, our available donkey carts are doing their best. But everyone is like, okay, I will lend a hand as well.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go.
So research, we talked about a bit, a tiny bit.
Yes.
Or more than a tiny bit, but
that is
we
correct.
talked about in the first stream, but we were in a hurry, right? So
that is
right now
correct.
we have the time to explain.
We can go for more, and that makes me very happy. So research right now has received this massive overhaul that we have shared with everyone through blog posts, but it's important to see how it works in action as well. Because just like the whole thing that we explained in the beginning, research requires your materials to be available and to be delivered to the destination. So if we activate or request this research to be performed, which requires 3 tools, then someone will have to grab the 3 tools and bring them there. As soon as they're there.
Just like in reality.
Yes, you order something, food especially.
And someone has to bring it.
Someone has to bring it, yes. So once the delivery is done, the research is complete. And I don't know if we had the opportunity to talk about it before. In order to access the research points that exist below the earlier tiers, you need to have any one of the above tiers research. So whether if I grab this one or the other one, I am able to then go on for the next one.
Very clear.
Now I have the materials to build this whole thing. Okay, let's go for the one that costs lumber. And it's just the same idea. If you have the transport capacity, then people will grab the materials and move them over to the academy in order to perform the research. Now, what we didn't do last time, because we didn't have a lot of time, is talk a little bit about the specifics of each tree. Because as you can see, not only do we present 2 basic trees that are always accessible, there are 3 experienced or advanced trees that also participate in each game that you can choose from.
We just showed the citizen one.
That is
in
correct.
The first stream, yes.
Good memory. So
I'm not that old.
Are we sure? Am I?
I'm not,
So the cool thing is the 2 basic trees that are always available are corresponding to each of the areas that you want to make sure you have access at the beginning. The protection tree will help you with anything related to making your units stronger, last longer, fight harder, and even get more help in the case of the ritualists upgrades. And the crafting tree will help anything between your engineering capabilities and your settlement itself. Some of the highlights, for example, are the researches in the case of protection tree that unlock new abilities. Having Ooze research enables all of your ritualists to cast this spell. The same goes for Howl. If you don't have this, then you don't have access to the ability. It's a very straightforward trait. You can even observe this difference between passive increases and then unlocks by seeing the shape of the icon. So in this case, it's a circle. In this case, where a new ability is unlocked, it's a square, which is the same as when you have units selected. See, the square? Perfect. Now I got taken super far away. I'm sorry, everyone. And then finally, there are the rhombuses, which upgrade abilities that already are there. Okay, so that is point number 1. In the case of the crafting guild, the upgrades that we see, and that are the most notorious ones, are those that simply increase living space for all homes. So basically, every engineer is able to craft houses that are better. They upgrade your existing houses, and you can continue on with that. And the other one is the one that allows you to grow your settlement faster. So your settlers would arrive at an earlier time compared to your opponent or someone that hasn't done it. Now, when we move on to the advanced trees, and we can even have a preview so that we don't need to remember everything by hand, the 3 advanced trees are there to help you in 3 different situations, and of course, by your own personal preference, that let you approach the match that you're fighting for at specific moment in different ways. In the case of the administration tree, this is the one that allows you to utilize your early advantages to a stronger degree and to a faster degree. It allows you to fight, no, the other one. Yeah, there we go. It allows you to fight bandits earlier. So the 30% damage increase is very, very significant. If you want to make sure that your early army is able to defeat that bandit camp that is getting your win, then this is the upgrade that you can take. And later on, there is an extreme reward for having military deployed all over the map, where your military, no longer your engineers, are able to take the resources you obtain from landmarks or from raiding opponents back into your warehouses without the need of the long path between an engineer grabbing it and collecting it. Yes, correct. So the administration tree is there to reward you for obtaining early military prowess. The citizens is, I'm not going to say the opposite, but it's the one that is tailored towards those that want to expand their territory but secure it. So on the one hand, they allow you to claim more just by building buildings. You don't even need to use your engineers for that. And once your territory is expanded, they will also feel safer as they are able to deal more damage on your own territory. As you move on, there are even plain on infrastructure upgrades that, for example, would allow
on dirt roads.
Pole carts to bypass the stone road requirement. But you see in the requirements, and this is the cool thing, you are investing potentially military power because of the iron cost into upgrading your settlement. So it lets you choose to go deeper into this direction. And finally, the engineering guild is the one that allows you to get out of a tricky position through various trickery or means in order to break through whatever is holding you back. If it's about a lack of resources to perform to create the units that you need, for example, it would allow Order of Braun units to deal significant combat damage to units. So if your only availability was gems, for whatever reason you lost a portion of the map or you are fighting with this, then you're able to recruit Order of Braun units to be efficient to fight against normal soldiers.
As they would usually, do more damage against buildings, right?
Correct. And there are other even cool situational things that allow you to set up ambushes, for example, in this case, of taking less damage when we are in close proximity to trees. So if you set up yourself in a way where you can lure the opponent that is in a stronger position than you to an area where you are stronger than instead, then your units count for more. So your precarious condition may be turned around so that you can tell the opponent, now I got you, now we're back on an even field, and then you can progress from on. And what's the coolest about this is you are obviously not forced to stick to one tree. You can build multiple academies, and that allows you to just keep on expanding on the advanced trees that you unlock. Of course, the first one is very significant. We talked about this in the past, but it is possible to grab them all.
Building multiple things is a very good segue to a question from chat.
Oh, cool.
We have one. Can you also build multiple outposts across the map to gather resources, or do you have only one main base?
This is super cool. The answer is, of course, you can build multiple bases. In fact, your territory is the only limitation to where you can build. You expand your territory, you can build more, and you can build more warehouses, have them interconnected, have clusters of where the same type of materials are needed so the transport lines are not too long. So it is up to you as a player to determine what expansion do you need to claim next and what type of materials you're looking for. Of course, having scouted everything would have helped, but so far we are showing mainly what the economy and the research can do. And now there is
harbor.
One more participant that we would like to talk about. So the harbor is a very special building, and there was a question also that I remember from a previous stream where they ask about the harbor. There is no limitation to harbors other than the space in which you can build them. So if you have a coastline, make the best out of this coastline by building harbors in the right positions, in the right order, in the right directions. We even have a helping hand here. If you would, by placing a building, ruin a position for a harbor.
Eagle-eyed viewers spotted that, I think 15 minutes ago. We
are able to show it to you.
The yellow spot.
Yes, and even if you're trying to build harbors, we are telling you which schools of fishes you are killing. Because it may be your decision to say, you know what, I don't need fishes anymore, I need this harbor built. So let me overwrite this one over here. So each harbor, and that's why it's important to be able to build more than one, offers you the possibility to trade any resource that you have for gold coins or any amount of gold coins that you have for resources. You can obviously do the transaction of sell something, buy something. This is all possible. And there are times where you need to sell something. So let's go for it. I'm going to go for 48. No specific reason. Actually, it's because it's a multiple of 8, and I want my donkeys to take care of most of the transportation. But still, some of the normal carriers will have to pick up because we only have
there are already 2 donkeys on the way.
Oh, they have to return and then come back. That's perfect. I think if I click on the harbor, we can see it. Oh, thank you very much, woodcutter. You removed the tree in the way. That's amazing. So we can see there, the donkeys have the job to take as many logs as possible and see the amount of carriers that they replace. Yeah. Like one of them is taking 8 of this. 8 places. And this is just without the upgrade. With the upgrade, they could transport more. But in any case, we have asked the sale.
Passing through.
Yeah, coming through. We have asked the sale of 48 lumber in this particular case, and then the procedure will be just like everything else. The materials have to be transported. The traffic gets a little bit chaotic. 6 p.m. is a bad time to go back home. So if you don't have a very well set up city or settlement, your units may get in the way of each other. However, in this particular case, we are not doing much because we're talking so much about the game that it was easy for them to deliver all of the goods. And once all of them are in place, our ferryman takes the job of grabbing the goods, putting them in a box.
It's so cool to see everything,
sealing them in,
what's going on.
And bringing them to the ferry. The ferry then will provide us with whatever we were looking for, either the coins or the materials. In this case, the person will come back. He paid the ferryman. And there we go. Now the
always good
ship
to pay the ferryman.
Yeah, the ship is free to go and trade the things, so they paid us in advance, and our goal will become available. And as it becomes available, of course, a group of people will say, "Okay, I'll take care of this.
Oh, I will pick up the coins, no problem."
I think they go into a tiny little box. Beautiful. Yeah, and now they're carrying box. And if I were to buy something, then it will go the other way around. We have to bring the coins. This is why it's so beneficial to have a warehouse close by to the harbor, because then the transaction time is shorter. And what's even better, assuming I had multiple warehouses, I could request that a certain group of coins are permanently set here. Right? So I set it here. That means that even if there is no transaction going on, any other warehouse will try to provide this central warehouse that I'm claiming now with the amount of coins that I requested at all times. Then I can use them. Yes. Then I can use them quickly for the transactions, and we are free to go.
Okay.
And if I had multiple harbors, then it would be a lot easier to get the transactions going. One coming in, one going out. Use the coins from this one into the other one, and it keeps the flow going. All right. I think I have spoken a lot about basic instructions of how to control our settlers. We have spoken about research. We have spoken about the harbor. I have a treat, because every time we start one of these streams, we have a problem trying to show all of the things that you're capable to build when you are not trying to explain all of the concepts at the same time. But I think we have a question.
No.
We don't. Cool.
We already answered that question.
We answered that question. Oh, that is so good.
But thank you anyway.
Good. Then maybe we missed something. So we have something to show to everyone, because every time we end up with a very, very bare bones structure of how we have built things. So what I have prepared for today, and because this map allows it, I have spent some time in order to prepare.
Now we get to the interesting part of your gameplay.
That is correct.
To show what you have prepared, and you spoiled in the beginning a bit.
Yes, so we said we had a treat for everyone that enjoys building more. There were comments even that they would like to see more buildings, they would like to see more settlers moving around, the 𝗤𝗔𝗪𝗧 factor, or the livelihood.
Wow, now you will see something.
And that's exactly what I was trying to do here.
This is 𝗤𝗔𝗪𝗧, I would suppose.
Well, there's transactions going on in all directions. This is what I've built, and this is one of the cool things about Boneyard in particular. It lets you not only take the time, it gives you the space in order to build the settlements the way you want.
And to plan in the beginning, right?
That is correct.
In the first place, you have to plan something.
That is indeed true. The way I laid out this city or this settlement at first was actually by placing the roads, and out of the road structure, I decided how to build the rest.
Right. Okay.
So that's why we ended up with these beautiful areas where all of the houses are being distributed and connected, so that every time we have a break here, we are connected by one bridge. So everyone is still friends. And I thought, I also want to feed the homes. And that's why we planted near the center a farm or a group of farms, a windmill, and some bakeries. And all of them are constantly on the work. Let's see if we can catch...
please show the bakery.
Yes, and this is for a special request. The bakery is so full of love that they need on the flour that they have, they use a little bit of water to make it perfect, and then they bake it.
And now we see it in the oven there.
Absolutely, all of us will go hungry right now.
Absolutely.
Luckily, we have food waiting for us.
Now you see
as soon as they are done, then they are produced, and just like always, they get distributed, they must be taken somewhere else. And in this particular case, all of these homes are being fed by bread. And look at the donkey cart being like, coming through, I am the morning delivery.
I have some bread for you.
That is so perfect that we caught them on time. So I built the giant donut city infrastructure over here. And then right next to it, we started a harbor town. Not only do we have 2 harbors very beautifully placed so that they continue working, and a warehouse next to it, like I announced, we still managed to keep 2 places for the fishermen to continue working. I think that's pretty cool because it allows like the 2 constructs of a big, busy construction site like the harbor, and now they're full. No, yes, now I have fished everything. Just perfectly on time.
But very cool that you can keep both of those running, you know?
Yes.
The harbor and the multiple harbors.
That is correct.
And the fishermen.
Now, there are notes of an attack. I am using an old version and I angered the AI. I did something myself. When I was building up, I pushed a little bit too far and this triggered a more offensive reaction for them.
Okay.
Because I killed the bandits as well. That was my mistake. So no problem, when you are playing this will not happen to you. That is not a fear. But I have built more. And this goes onto the question of, can you build multiple locations? Let me show you this. This is our lumber industry location. Not only have we claimed all around this regrowing forest area, we have also claimed this portion with the avenue of lumber. So not only do we produce an incredible amount of lumber here, we also take it directly to the warehouse where luckily one of our donkey carts usually takes over and transports the crazy amounts of lumber that we are handling.
We see one up there. God. Yes.
We caught them on time.
Yes.
Guilty as charged. Very cool. And as they are passing by, I can show that this is the precious metal area, where we have 3 mines that we have constantly fed with food for gems, gold, and gold. And then we're using 4 mints in order to transform those gold bullions into gold coins. And let's see if we see the process here. They just strike while the gold is hot. Very malleable. It's easy to mint the coins. What a word.
I'm so fascinated by watching them work,
yeah,
watching other people work.
It's one of the beauties of the Siedler series. The love for details allows you to keep watching. And now, as we can see, gold coins are being carried around. So let's show some more things, because all of these precious materials then lead to another resolution, which is our recruitment facilities. In this particular case, it's a shrine in order to create ritualists, which also require, in this particular case, gems, and a shady tavern for the Order of Brunn.
Very good name.
Which is, I remember we talked about it, which is also auto-recruiting summoners. So right now, I don't even need to take care of this. The game is just auto-recruiting for me, and as I have constructed this massive infrastructure, then many of these units are created. And
also, as we see in the upper left corner, 168 of 200.
Exactly, and the number, I think when I loaded, it was like at around 100, so we've been producing like crazy. Another aspect that we wanted to show is the talk about the forester. And again, I'm showing an older version. We have fixed this already. But the forester in this case is planting 1 tree and cutting it down. That's why it doesn't get its looks as it naturally should. But when the game launches, everyone will be able to see the amount of trees that they plant in order to make their garden look like a beautiful forest. Allows you to arrange your foresters in a way that also they can look beautiful and create a scenario for you.
Quickly talking about trees and foresters, we have a question from chat. Do trees regrow to prevent deforestation?
That is a beautiful question.
But you already
on multiple
touched
levels.
on that. Yeah.
Okay, so our game offers 2 types of forests locations. One of them regrows, the other one doesn't regrow, or the other type doesn't regrow. The one that doesn't regrow is specifically there to get in your way and to provide you with an incentive at the start to obtain the resources from the area, but then go out in order to keep looking for more forest, either regrowable or not. So if you remember, at the start of the game, this entire area was covered by forest. And now we have chopped it all down, except the seaside resort of 3 pounds that we have left over the year. For someone
holiday feeling, yeah.
To hang a hammock, a very long distance hammock. And then in the meantime, this other one provides me with a regrowing set of trees that obey easy rules of proximity. If there are still trees around it, then they will allow the forest to regrow. That's why we distributed also the woodcutters or the logging camps around in this shape. And what's cool is, if it's not what you want, if what you want is the area, if you cut down a tree, you can build over it, but then it's gone. So it's your choice to say, okay, you know what, thank you, regrowing forest, but I don't need you anymore. Yeah. I'm gonna chop it all down and replace you with heavy industry.
Oh no.
Or not, which is exactly why I went for this direction, in which we have a lot of logging going on, but it is sustainable. That's why they have been creating my 400 planks or lumber here, as we can see. Yeah. And there's this undergrowth beneath regrowing forest that is also a clear indicator that this vegetation that will keep on the forest living and regrowing in the case that it gets chopped down.
Very clear.
Cool.
Quick question to throw in. How high will the settler limit be?
Okay, so the maximum capacity for settlers is 500. This requires you to build a very large size city or amount of residences, as we show here. Research also can help you with this. And it's up to the player to then determine how that 500 unit distribution will be used. Because if you can recruit infinite amount of settlers, that means you could have infinite amount of military units. If you can have only 500 settlers, then the distribution between economy and military becomes part of your challenge. And I actually left it like this on purpose. The amount of settlers that we have available right now has dwindled down to 0, which means all of our production chains have started to get delayed and eventually will stop because we keep recruiting our units to military. This is, it's depending on the situation, of course, it could be a mistake because I could maybe not reach the end of this economic challenge.
As we do not have idle settlers
Correct.
taking over the jobs, right?
If I don't use my military resources in a smart way, if the enemy gets to defend against my military push, then my units will be gone, and before the houses catch up and get to regenerate all of those lost settlers, my opponent will have an advantage. So the settlers limit exists in order for you to ask yourself, what type of distribution do I want to have right now? And really pushing up to the 500 limit, it's not that easy. We didn't do it in the PvP one. We didn't do it in the campaign stream. We did it in this one because I had prepared over a 2-hour span.
Yeah, now, just look at the time.
Exactly, 2 hours 20. Yeah. It lets you still keep a lot of your population busy. Yeah. Right now, we have recruited half of our population into it, and still you will see that there's work going on the farms, on the ranches. There's still people planting, right? It's not like I've lost my entire capacity to produce. But now that I got here, I wanted to show this area. This is our farming area. Not only have we created a crazy amount of farms, we're also processing the wheat that is generated into flour, or we're using it to feed animals in the ranch. And one of them is creating the donkeys.
The donkeys.
Which then get taken directly into the coach maker, which recruits. Let's see if I catch one. No, I missed it. Which can recruit the donkey carts. Yeah. Additionally, we even have some bakeries here that at this moment are full, that have been using the flour that we create here in order to make bread. And right next to it, we have the beautiful set of 3 academies, as we spoke. That, let me see, yes, they're still researching.
Citizens tree?
This one has the citizens tree unlocked, this one the administration tree, and this one the engineering tree.
All right.
And not only that, each of them is researching a different option. As you can see, if you have multiple academies going, the only limitation is 2 academies cannot research the same thing at the same time, but you have a very clear indicator. This research is already going on. So it's easy to keep up with different buildings, and again, you can use tab to swap between buildings of the same type, so we can easily click 3 different upgrades if that's what we want. Yep. Finally, we move over to the location where, you know what, actually, let me stop something from happening. There we go.
Population limit reached.
Indeed.
So Shady Tavern,
no,
please stop
spoilers.
working.
Yes, I wanted to try to coordinate something, but I think we keep explaining so many cool things that time passes very quickly. So, the last portion of our settlement is the one that is based on heavy industry production of coal, iron, and the subsequent iron bars, which we are boosting with food in order to produce additional iron bars, which we're funneling into 4 blacksmiths that used to be boosted, but since I loaded the save game, it has taken a little bit of time. Now they're no longer boosted. I guess there's no one available to bring them the food. As you can see, there's a delivery happening right now, but that is just for this building. So we're boosting all of these buildings, or at least we were boosting all of these buildings. So the weapon production has gone a little bit insane. And the reason why we ran out of units of settlers is this area. We have 4 training grounds, constantly recruiting, have all available possible units into military, to the point where we have reached...
Yeah, a large army, I would say.
a bit of an army.
Yeah, as we see, you also reached raise a large army, upper left corner, 254 of 200, yes.
So the last one is also approaching.
The gems.
And the way we can do this is very simple. We can have the capacity to keep recruiting or auto-recruiting any of this unit. Now, I did a distribution where each is recruiting a different unit, but this is not necessary. You can have literally all of them auto-recruiting at all times from one facility. But the more facilities you have, the more throughput you have, right? Like more units can take up arms, go to one of these 4 facilities and keep on training. So while we had still a lot of available units, and this is why the number grew so crazy so fast, many of them were recruiting at the same time, right? They were not wasting any time. So I think I have shown a little bit of everything. I used also long roads in order to create the connections, and I was planning to go for a strong interaction with stone roads as well, but then I decided to go for the upgrade that allows every single carrier to become a pull cart, regardless of the road. Let's see, I think they finished everything at this point. I have the gems, I have the coins, all of the trades are finished. Okay, so we can then...
Yeah, we would still have to stock up on gems, like 30,
so we're gonna throw a few requests here. Let me see if I can go back to an area of movement. We can stock up with the last gems and thus win the mission.
After, like,
2
hours?
It took me 2 hours indeed. And one of the prominent things of this particular map, which we couldn't show on the other side because I killed them, it's the existence of boss bandits. And boss bandits get their name very aptly so, because their attributes compared to normal bandits are on a crazy scale. They're able to single-handedly almost kill anyone in one hit, or a few hits maybe if you have the proper upgrades, which means when you want to confront a boss bandit, you really have to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Unless you are prepared in a way where you can maybe hit and run, apply poison to it, slow it down so that it doesn't reach your units. All of these will be then...
Break his leg or something like that.
That's a bit mean. Shoot an arrow on the leg. We got the victory. Well, I was talking on the middle of it, but it's okay. So, this was, sadly, when we jumped, the game ended a little bit too fast. We would have loved to talk more about it. But we were able to then produce all of the infrastructure that kept the numbers going. I wish I could have shown in the top right. We were having like 400 lumber because we kept the production on. That meant I was able to auto-produce any amount of units or buildings that would then allow me to keep growing my structure. And because I ended up recruiting so many units, we got to see at the start of it all of the units going around, and then as the recruitment went on, then it kind of stopped and slowed down because there were no carriers anymore left. So I think we got to show especially that you're able to build and construct in a very leisure pace in this particular map.
And a very huge settlement.
And a very huge settlement.
With the master plan.
That is correct. So Boneyard is actually one of our bigger maps, certainly one of the biggest 2 1v1 maps. So if you want to take over most of the portion and you can keep the AI controlled, you are able to take over as much as you want. And then in the other maps, you will find a more competitive challenge because the main goal will be to kill your opponent. So it's cool that we have this variety, and people can choose, absolutely. If they want to play Boneyard, they just activate in the preferences, give me Boneyard only, I want to play it right now.
Okay. I think this kind of plays into a question we have from chat. Will there be a build-only mode with no military and no time limit?
All right, so that's a very specific question, and I have an answer. The answer is it will depend on the map. Right now, Boneyard does have a time limit in order to impose some sort of race condition so that it doesn't go on forever. However, Goldmore, if we get to show it at some other point, does not have a time limit, and even more, does not even have a connection between players. So you cannot directly attack your opponent, even if you wanted to, with your own military units. Goldmore proposes a very different set of economic challenges in which, of course, the final goal is to obtain gold, but it's very difficult to do so. So you don't even get a way to directly say, okay, just make gold and touch nothing else.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
The cool thing about that map, I really hope we get an opportunity in the future, is that because there is no direct connection, you get to work your economy the way you would prefer it so, and you still face a lot of challenges within your portion of the map that are, of course, not only by bandits, but also by reinforcements that may be coming in the way, kind of in an interactive way where you can pay bandits in order for them to go attack someone else.
That's cool.
So it is an interesting twist on what would normally be a map, and because paying would also cost coins, then you are getting behind on the race, but you put some pressure on the opponent. It's really a cool interactive map. Yes, I hope we get to show it.
Absolutely. So basically, we have shown everything we wanted to show today.
That is indeed correct.
There's anything else you want to tell the people, you can tell the people?
Yes, so to everyone that has checked their email and gotten an invite, we are about to make an update. It will probably come next week or the other week to update 8, which will be the last update that we will do on the TTS before the release of the game. So I hope everyone who can join is with us, sees the changes, and gets to talk to us about what they see, what they have experienced. There will be balancing also involved, and I think that will be very interesting.
All right.